G20 के लोकाचार पर आधारित दुनिया में शांति की संस्कृति को बढ़ावा देने के लिए विज्ञान, धर्म और तत्वज्ञान की अनूठी तथा ऐतिहासिक 9वीं वैश्विक संसद वाराणसी के श्री काशी विश्वनाथ धाम कॉरिडोर में आयोजित की गई थी। सर्वश्रेष्ठ वैज्ञानिक और आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान तथा तत्व ज्ञान को एक साथ लाते हुए शांति तथा सद्भावना की संस्कृति को बढ़ावा देने और एक शांति प्रिय समग्र वैश्विक समाज का विकास करने के तरीकों पर इन 3 दिवसीय संसद में चर्चा हुई। काशी में आने वाले तीर्थ यात्रियों तथा भक्तों की आसान आवाजाही के लिए प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी द्वारा बनाए गए काशी विश्वनाथ कॉरिडोर को विश्वधर्मी प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर विश्वनाथ कराड जी ने काशी विश्वनाथ ज्ञान कॉरिडोर का रूप दे दिया और यहीं पर संपन्न हुई विज्ञान, धर्म और तत्वज्ञान को समर्पित 9वीं वैश्विक संसद। सेवेंथ डे एडवेंटिस्ट चर्च के ओरिएंटल प्रेस के संचालक डॉक्टर एडिसन साम्राज ने उपस्थित जनसमुदाय को संबोधित किया।
The chairman of the session today, Dr. Vishwanath Karad, the president of the World Peace Center, and the other dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to first of all recognize and acknowledge the importance of what Dr. Karad is doing, not just for India, but for the human race. For the last 25 years, in his journey towards academic excellence, he has taken the mission of MIT to the mission of the world, and he has transformed not only pilgrim centers, but also the classrooms of MIT into temples of learning. Dr. Karad, with your permission, let me tell you this. India is in a hole. I am talking about HOLE. But India must be whole, WHOLE. And I think that is the challenge that Dr. Karad has taken. He is not just interested in the education of young people only, but in the educating the masses to understand the importance and significance of being whole. So I want to present 3 propositions as a way forward and transforming the pilgrim centers into divine knowledge centers. That is, the first is that we must understand that wellness is a call to wholeness, and wholeness is a call to holy living, and holiness is a pledge to oneness with the divine. These are my central propositions I want to leave for those who want to make India whole. The mandate of wholeness cannot be restricted to only educational institutions. It has to broaden its perspective, and Dr. Karad is trying his best as a single individual, as a family of MIT, to galvanize the forces of development to make this visible and credible in the public domain. And today, the experience in Kashi has reminded me that he is so compelled to ensure that the masses in India are taken together with the mandate of education. And we must recognize this as a very important element. While we are having the 4 Ds governing us, that is decarbonization, decentralization, digitalization and democracy, which is a guiding principle of postmodern thinking. But what Dr. Karad is doing is actually the credo of sustainable development for the entire world. And the inspiration that he has given me has enabled me to develop a curriculum called Green Curriculum. I have developed a green curriculum, Dr. Karad, for your information, and we are having all the top educationalists coming there to inaugurate and launch this, because we need a sustainable development for world peace, and that begins with educating our masses and our schools with peace education that I call it a green curriculum. We have struggled on this part of teaching in the classroom. They teach the subject of physics, chemistry, biology, and whatever subject they teach, but there is nothing beyond the subject matter. The holistic development is to integrate the head, heart, and the hand together and make education sustainable and make education worthwhile and make people understand the dynamics of life. And I believe that what essentially is our concern as this conference is emerging as a milestone event in the turning point is, I think, to transform every classroom also into a temple, every pilgrim center also into a divine knowledge center, because in the transformation process we enable every student and every citizen of this country to move towards holistic development. So I want to offer to you three important guidelines that I want to present to this important body. To introduce holistic education with an emphasis to holistic total growth and stewardship of our environment is my first priority. If our young people and our older ones understand the value of stewardship, what is to be a true steward, how is it that we can enable ourselves to be responsible to our environment, that will be my first focus. The second, to make conscious decisions both at the personal and corporate changes in policy and practice for development and progress. We must foster a green corporate culture that needs to enable itself to reduce its greed and increase its compassion towards equity and responsibility. We do have corporate social responsibility percentages that the industry gives towards development, but that is not enough. I think the equity is not resolved that way, and that is why we have this 30 years ago the UN report on common future and has placed sustainable development on the international agenda, because we cannot afford to remain at the corporate level and yet have equity and reduction of poverty. So we need to embrace technological changes, institutional changes, and industrial changes and social changes in this process. And I think we have to pay attention to ethical and moral values, and we should change the future that is before us. So we need to positively reinforce the ethics and justice and environmental limits to academic and political underpinnings and understand what is sustainability and what is development. Today, I sense that we have a very erroneous concept of development. Dr. Bhushan, I would like you, since you are the chairperson of the NAC, if you can come up with a concept of development that needs to be reinforced in our education institutions. We start the foundations of teaching what is development, what is progress, what is life for. I think this should be part of our ethos in the education institutions and in the social arena and the political agenda. I think the media in Bangalore, the Director General spoke to me and said, why don't you bring concepts like this that we instill in our young minds and our mass groups on what is development, what is true development. Is it development just talking about the bifurcation between ontological discontinuity between man and nature? No, that is not the Advaita thinking. That non-duality is the cause. Most of the causes that we have in development is because they have differentiated man from nature, and that differentiation must be diminished. And to that extent, the mass media can play a transforming role in making things happen. And lastly but not the least, Dr. Vishwanath, I think today you have brought the right person to give the keynote speaker today, Dr. Karan Singh, who we met about 15 years back when we had the first World Congress in Pune. And he made the similar points during his first inaugural keynote address. And today I say, though those 5 sutras that he made was very valuable, because he outlined the basic dynamics of sustainable development and bringing the whole human family as one. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 1. That is Vasudeva Kudupakam. The whole human family is one big family.